What's up, Savvy Expats? If you're living or planning on living in the Philippines, there are just certain things that I can 100% guarantee you will see. Things that will perplex, confuse, and even baffle you. But as always, I got you. I'm gonna give you the 411 on everything you need to know, so let's get into this. So the first Filipino quirk is calling napkins tissue. For you foreigners, especially you Americans, I might have just saved you from a world of embarrassment. Well, I'm exaggerating, but the thing is in most countries, napkins is what we use to wipe our mouth. And that's what we call it, napkins. But on the other hand, here in the Philippines and maybe a few other countries, napkins are often referred to as tampons. Hey, can I get some napkins over here? Sir, why would you need a napkin? To wipe my mouth, what else? Sir, napkins are used for women. What do you mean? You know, when they have their period. And so, I don't know if this is also the case in other countries, but it sure is here in the Philippines. But because most Filipinos know that napkins is an interchangeable term that can be used between sanitary pads and what you wipe your mouth with, you should be fine. So just to give you a heads up, the majority of locals use the term tissue instead of napkin. In the US, tissue is what you wipe your nose with. Here in the Philippines, tissue is what you wipe your mouth with. Moving on to quirk number 2, that is employees following you. Now this is something that I felt the need to give you disclosure on because some of you Americans may find this off-putting, dare I say annoying. When you're at shoe stores, clothing stores, or just any store in general, you will often find employees following you. So while you may have the urge to shout, "Stop following me," or "What do you want?" understand that this is completely normal. When I first got to the Philippines and found employees following me everywhere in the store, I thought to myself, oh, here we go. They think I'm just some sketchy kid looking to steal something. But the longer I lived here, the more I realized that this happens all the time. And it's not just one employee, sometimes it's multiple employees. My best guess is that they are trained to be as attentive as possible to the customers. That they should be there to ask, what size do you want? What are you looking for? How can I assist you? Things like that. My only problem is that when you're just looking, most times you just don't want someone hovering over your shoulder. And the last thing to know is that every establishment in the Philippines hires tons of employees. This is especially common in the retail industry, and I do see this as a good thing to give people work, but just don't be surprised when you see one person stocking shelves and then 5 other people surrounding him watching. Now, the third unique Filipino quirk is saying takeout, not to go. One thing that you have to bear in mind in Philippine restaurants is that the term to go is not used here. Where you're from, telling the waiter that you'll have your food to go is nothing out of the ordinary. But keep in mind, here in the Philippines, this term is rarely used. The more common term to use is saying that you'll have your food for takeout. Moving on to unique quirk number 4, that is eating with a leg up. While this may seem like bad manners in your home country, this is yet again another normal quirk in the Philippines. Well, I suppose many Filipinos still know that this is improper dining etiquette, but when you're on the street, say like a Carinderia or a normal restaurant like McDonald's or a Mang Inasal, it's not uncommon to see people eating with their feet on the chair. And the reason I mention this is because before you look at that in disgust, understand that this is pretty normal in Philippine culture. And I think many locals don't mind when it's done in a casual setting, but when it's done in a proper setting, of course it's not right. Now for unique quirk number 5, that is raising eyebrows. This is yet another quirk that has not only confused countless foreigners, but even myself when I first landed in the Philippines. You'll find that raising eyebrows like this means yes. Did you like the food? Did you have a good day? Can I have your credit card number? So now that you know that this is a common form of Filipino communication, you won't stand there like, what does that mean? Moving on to unique quirk number 6, that is linking arms. While walking around here in the Philippines, girls linking arms and guys putting their hands on their friend's shoulder is something that you will commonly see. And don't be surprised if this happens to you, because if you find yourself making friends with the locals and you get close with one another here, this is something that many friends do here. And this is something that I had to add to the list because most Americans are very conscientious about personal space. We're not very touchy, we keep a personal bubble, and we like our room. But I remember when a friend of ours first linked arms with my sister while they were walking together, and that was the first time that's ever happened to her, so after that interaction she said she felt so uncomfortable. Now as for guys, typically you'll see them walking with their hand on their friend's shoulder. This is something that I've only seen in the Philippines. Now for unique quirk number 7, that is the almighty lip pointing. At this point, who doesn't know about the classic Filipino lip pointing? For those of you who've been living under a rock, instead of pointing with their hands, Filipinos point with their lips. like that. This can sometimes get confusing because how specific can you really get when pointing with your lips? It's over there. It's over where? Over there. Don't you see it? Ah, okay. Now I see it. Moving on to unique quirk number 8, which is not really a quirk more than it is a custom, that is not using toilet paper. Okay, this one I understand because Filipinos wash their bottoms with bidets or tabots, and same goes with the rest of Asia and even Europe. But the only thing I don't understand is how they dry themselves afterwards. This is something to keep in mind because if you find yourself using the bathroom at the mall or a restaurant, sometimes toilet paper is unavailable. And if it is available, you have to pay for it. So the solution is either you hold your business or you bring your own toilet paper or wipes wherever you go. This is quite the culture shock to me at first, so I learned always use the bathroom before you go out. Now for unique quirk number 9, that is not getting the last piece of food. This is just something that some Americans will just never understand, and until this day, even I am not completely sure why. But when eating in a group setting in the Philippines, nobody ever wants to get the last piece of food. When you offer them the last serving of chicken or rice, you'll find that nobody wants to take it, even if they're still hungry. This could be because of several reasons. Number 1, shy culture. Filipinos act very shy. Number 2, they're considerate. As kind-hearted as Filipinos are, sometimes they just want a different person to get the other piece instead of themselves. That's very selfless of them. And number 3, they just genuinely don't want the last piece. Moving on to unique quirk number 10, which is again not really a quirk, that is modesty and dignity ingrained in the culture. Unlike many other countries where the clothing choices are immodest and very revealing, Filipinos tend to cover up more. Again, this is not necessarily unique to the Philippines, but also other countries as well, especially Muslim countries. This is something that is lost in most other places, so to see the Philippines still practice this is pretty special. Now for unique quirk number 11, that is the towel on the back of the shirt. Okay, this is something that I've only seen in the Philippines. You'll find that just walking around anywhere that people put a towel on the back of their shirt. I think this is to keep the sweat from running down their back and also to stay cool. I'm still not completely sure, so if you do know, comment down below. Now for unique quirk number 12, that is the t-shirt over the stomach. Especially among men in the Philippines, on a hot day, I guarantee you will see guys pull their t-shirt up to hang it over their belly. Once again, this is just to stay cool, and it's part of what many guys do here. Moving on to unique quirk number 13, that is the click-clacking of slippers. I might be the only YouTuber to ever have mentioned this about the Philippines because it's not really a game changer about this country. But to say that you'll sometimes hear the click-clacking of people's chinelas as they walk is an understatement. Wherever you go, the malls, the streets, the sidewalks, you will always hear this sound. I don't know if people are walking with ankle weights or what, but in all seriousness, I found this quirk unique because this is only something someone from a different country would consciously notice about the Philippines. Now for unique quirk number 14, that is unplugging everything before leaving the house. Now this, I believe, is to save electricity. Now I don't know if it actually works, but many Filipinos do this. They unplug the microwaves, the AC, the lights, the phones. They just unplug everything before leaving the house. Again, does this actually work? Let me know down below. Moving on to the 15th and last unique quirk, that is the age-old out of stock. I felt the need to add this to the list because this happens very often. Almost suspiciously far too often. Because when you ask an employee at a grocery store if something is available and they tell you immediately it's out of stock without even checking, you can just tell that they can't be bothered to check. And so you have two types of employees here. The one that will follow you around like your shadow, attentive to all of your needs, and then the one that can't give a rat's butt about what you're looking for. So two opposite employees on two opposite sides of the spectrum. But on the other hand, let's be real here, they're just generally out of stock most times. If you're a regular at a restaurant and you ask for the same dish day after day, but it's never available, you may wonder why it's even on the menu. But when it comes to ingredients in the Philippines, especially beef, things are just not available at times. And that's just the way it is. So there you have it, Savvy Expats. That is the 15 unique quirks you will see in the Philippines. I hope you've been enjoying these honest videos because it's the little things about this country that make it so special. And I bet if I were to move back to the US, I'd probably miss these little quirks. So comment down below which of the 15 quirks resonated with you most. And so thank you for watching, Savvy Expats, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.